see you. I like how low it is, man.
75 miles per hour?
Yeah. No?
I was wanting to go 100.
What's up, everybody? I'm John.
I'm Isaac.
Mini bike drag racing is gaining a ton of popularity, and there are people out there who are spending $5,000, $10,000, or even $15,000 to build a monstrously fast mini bike. Well, what about the folks at home who are trying to ball on a budget? Well, this episode is for you. We picked up an $80 doodlebug from the flea market, and we're gonna spend our budget where it counts, in the engine, to build a fast, competitive mini bike for the Go Power Sports 660. Behold. So it's not technically a doodlebug, it's a Baja dirt bug.
Yeah.
And yeah, I picked it up at the flea mall for 80 bucks. It's really not far from like running, but we're gonna be tearing the engine off it, taking the wheel and tire off it, and upgrading it with safe and fast parts. I would love to see this thing in the 8s in the 1/8 mile. I want to see you between 70 and 80 miles an hour on this thing. I know you can do it. So let's get it inside and start tearing it apart.
So I have just got to find out if this thing will even fire up.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about the bike.
we've never actually messed with a Predator 79.
No, this is a first.
And we're going to be building a monster for this. It's going to have close to 3 times that displacement when we're done.
This bike is going to be like, what is going on here?
Yeah, why'd you choose a doodlebug, by the way?
Well, I mean, it was $80 from the flea market, which was like really cheap. And I like how small the frames are and stuff. So, I mean, I just kind of like it.
They're really cool.
They are. Do you think it'll fire up?
Absolutely. Is the engine stuck? Dude, that's the most compression a 79 has ever had. The engine's stuck, isn't it?
It might be.
Hey, you got ripped off, man. 80 bucks? What the heck? I'd be getting my money back.
Oh, man.
That's why you're drag racing a doodlebug, because you can pull it and bring the whole bike to you. It doesn't weigh anything.
Got messed up.
Oh, yep. Bike's off the ground. The engine's a little stuck. Are you about to unstick it real quick?
Well, I don't know. I just kind of want to give it a shot.
When you can lift the entire engine. Oh.
I think that's a valve. I think a valve is holding her open. Let's bang it shut. There we go.
So you think it had a stuck valve?
Oh, it's definitely got, well, I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. Kill switch?
No kill switch.
What do you mean no kill switch?
Huh.
What about the kill on the engine?
I got it on run.
Okay.
Give her a little bit more. Aha! I think it's trying.
Yeah. Oh.
Why is it still running? It's running on whatever fuel is in the tank.
Nice. Can't blow it up.
No.
That's pretty sweet.
It went from stuck to running no problem.
To wide open.
I was hoping it would chunk a rod through the block. I didn't even check the oil. I was out of oil or something. But, oh well. We'll snatch this engine off and, I don't know, build her up.
Sounds great.
Yeah, man. Weight limit. Do not exceed 150 pounds.
It's a good thing our jockey isn't 150 pounds, right, Ike?
Yeah.
You're just not allowed to eat anything between now and the race.
I don't even think I can get down to 150 in a week and a half.
No.
So I'm in trouble. All right, so we got to snatch that engine off. What are we gonna do with that 79cc
Trophy.
trophy?
I don't know. Something.
Okay, sounds good.
So when we say a budget drag build, this isn't going to be us finding a scrap engine and belt sanding the cylinder head and doing a DIY port and polish and building a header. We're going to be doing some of that, but this is more about building a drag bike on a budget to be competitive in a certain class. So the bike was only $80, but we're still going to be getting a 236cc engine running methanol to power it. So budget is relative speaking here. There are going to be people with probably 2 or 3 times the amount of money in their bikes in your same class.
Right.
So in that sense, it is still budget. We still got some backwoods stuff going on. Don't worry, just hang tight.
So we're gonna go ahead and strip this thing down so we can weigh it and see what we're working with. All right, throttle cable's stuck, so easy peasy. Ow. John, what are we gonna do with this 79cc, man?
Put it on a microcart.
What do you think? That good? Dude, the front fork is split. We can weld it. There we go. Now let's weigh this thing. And it is, oh goodness. It is 30 pounds with the seat on it and the front forks and the fenders. It's not too bad, not too bad. I think we got something good here. If we want to shave some pounds, we take the front fender off and the back fender, and we take the seat off and put a aluminum pan in its place. We'd probably shave a pound or 2. So now that we got the bike stripped down, let's oh goodness, figure out where we're gonna go from here. I'm thinking, well, I need to fix the split front fork here. I'm thinking about lopping off these handlebars and drilling some holes in here with some risers so I can put some different style handlebars on it. And I hadn't even sat on this thing yet. I think I'll fit. Think I'll fit? Oh wait. Oh wait.
It's so wrong. It's right. This is cool.
Why does it look so funny?
That wheel and tire is worth like 3 times more than the rest of the chassis.
Yeah.
That's going to be the theme of this build. The chassis is certainly the cheap part.
Yep.
But, I mean, it's a used part we were able to recycle from something else, so
Okay.
at least borrow.
All right.
We're gonna have to lower it for sure.
Is this thing gonna be Carolina squatting? I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, gotta represent, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
See that's the look.
Yeah?
That's not the look. You gotta lower the front.
No, I like it like
It looks horrible. Lower the front.
No, I like it like that. Okay, I'll lower the front.
Yeah.
So we can just cut it, sleeve it, and bring
The
it
pivot
up.
point way up.
Actually, if we get another tab coming forward,
That's a great idea.
then we can have like 3 different positions, so we can so we weld it to there, and we can like raise it and lower it.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I like it.
You reckon our little surprise will fit?
I think. All right. This does look pretty sweet.
It does.
It's not great for weight distribution, but it's great for looks.
Yep. So we plan on using a pulse pump, pulling the fuel from there. Ideally, I really wanted the fuel tank up front, so when the bike accelerates, the fuel will head towards the carburetor rather than on the back where it wants to head away. But it'll be fine, right?
Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I like the placement.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
So what's next?
I don't know. Everything.
Everything. All right.
So this is what we mean when we say we're balling on a budget. This is our adjustable height front end bracket that we're going to be installing on this dirt bug. I'm just going to call it a doodlebug because that's kind of what it is. So in order to install these as safe as we can, I'm going to take a grinder and cut about a 1/4 inch wide slit right here so that this can countersink into the forks and get welded to the backside and the front side. So our axle is going to go through here. It's going to give us just a little bit more wheelbase. It's going to affect the handling, hopefully in a good way. Let's see our 500 setup with the axle in front of the forks. It'll be fine. That's definitely a very safe bike. Going to get them welded on. We're going to have adjustable height up front. Hey, there we go. It's gonna be nice, man. Just clean it up, tack it in, front end.
All right, so next thing we're gonna do is it's gonna hurt. We're gonna be removing these bars so we can put some risers on it. But we're gonna have to get rid of these. Ready? Cover.
Well, we accidentally left the shop door unlocked last night, and look who crawled in it. Our friend Colin is here. He's helping build the bikes, and he's actually going to be riding the Rascal GT. You don't want to know what I had to bribe him with to get him to race an 80-mile-an-hour mini bike.
Yeah, we'll keep that between us.
He's helping us get the doodlebug together. Ike's working on the front end, and Colin is working on drilling some holes for our new risers. We're going to be doing some risers just like these here from Go Power Sports with a flat bar just like that for simplicity, aerodynamics. So we're supposed to be testing and tuning these bikes Saturday. For reference, it's Tuesday. For reference, engines aren't here. They're coming tomorrow. They need to be completely assembled. One of them needs extensive head work. This one. It's gonna be a busy week.
Might have to be stretched.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be funny, but
That's a lot of dude to be on that little bike.
It is, but that's kind of what makes it funny. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to be installing this steering dampener from Go Power Sports. The reason why we're doing this is because if you want to go fast, you're going to need to keep that steering straight. So the dampener helps keep the steering from tank slapping at high speeds. You don't want to tank slap. So there's several places you can install it on your bike. You can go down here. Problem with this on this one is when you steer to the right, it's going to cause the rod to go into the steering housing. So we're going to go up top here.
Oh, look, a hole that's already drilled.
I know. Colin helped me pick out a spot. He went ahead and drilled the hole for me so I can go ahead and start to install this dampener. They're pretty easy to install. You just drill the holes and you're going to want to figure out a spot, which we got it pre-marked right here. We're going to clean that up with the sandpaper disc, and we're going to tack weld it, and then we're going to test it left and right and make sure everything's working good. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh man, like butter. Dude, it's pretty good. It turns a little sharper right than left, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen this and make a slight adjustment.
That's nice, so you can kind of tweak it as needed. You want to get it, you know, definitely in the ballpark when you tack weld your bracket.
I need to go just a touch more, dude, but that feels great.
Nice. We just need to tighten everything down and we'll have a steering dampener.
Yeah, man.
So the UPS man came and dropped off a beautiful 236 for the pole start class for Ike's race bike for the 660. Again, this is supposed to be a budget-friendly way to go racing. It's not going to be as cheap as putting a header pipe and a carburetor on, but you know what? This build is all about bang for your buck while staying competitive. So, anytime you're building a really high-end engine, you want to go at it like you'd be performing surgery. You want the cleanest surface possible. So we've cleaned the surface. We've got fresh paper towels laid down, fresh can of brake clean with no slime or grease on it, and we cleaned off this surface that all of our parts are on in preparation as well. So we're going to unwrap all the parts from Paul and wipe them down, clean them as we place them on the table. That way, we should be starting with the cleanest surface as possible. Is it a little bit overkill to clean it to this extent? Maybe. We've built a lot of engines in dirty environments and never had a problem, but when you're spending this much on an engine, you want to perform as well as possible. It doesn't hurt to take the extra time to really go crazy with being clean on assembly. All right. Yeah, it does look fresh and clean. He's already installed the bearing and the seal. We're still going to go over this thing and just make sure to deburr it. Like there's a little bit of a burr in there, a little burr in there. Any kind of loose pieces of aluminum in here are going to need to be kind of poked at with a pick of some kind to make sure that they're either on there really well or we can get them out so they don't end up in our first oil change.
This is where I feel like a dentist. But I mean, there's a lot of this casting that's just kind of loose on there. And look, you can actually see the little flecks right here that have come off. And that would eventually have ended up in the oil. Can you get all of it? No. But is it worth getting all you can when you have this much invested into an engine? Probably so. Alright, so anytime you're poking around with a pick to try to loosen up some of this casting material, you want to be extremely careful. Like, don't touch the bearing. Absolutely don't get anywhere close to the sleeve there. But just after doing this for 10 or 15 minutes, look at all the debris that would have been in that first oil change.
All right, so while John is working on the block prep,
That's right.
I'm gonna be working on the cylinder head. We just got this cylinder head from Paul. He did a lot of the hardest stuff for us because we're on such a tight schedule.
The pro engine builder needs to set up the valve springs, the camshaft, all that type of stuff. You want to leave to the pros because they know what works. What we can do is the port match on the intake and the exhaust, and we can also do the porting on the intake and exhaust ports themselves.
Yes.
So that's something that we like to do. It's good for a DIYer. It can help save you some money if you're trying to put something together on a budget, but you want to leave the camshaft and the springs to the pros on the other setup. Take it away.
All right, so what I'm doing, I went ahead and I bolted up the intake on this, and it is definitely not matched. So what I'm gonna do is take this permanent marker here, and I'm gonna mark the raised surfaces inside of this port. And I'm gonna take this off and I'm gonna show you what I've got to do to port match.
And why is port matching important?
Well, an engine is basically like a air compressor. Air goes in and comes out. The quicker you can get the air in and out, the more efficient the engine is, the more power you're going to get, etc., etc. So if you look right here, I had marked with my marker what material I have to remove, because we want the straightest airflow possible. We don't want any walls to interrupt the airflow. So I'm going to be shaving that, and then at that point I'm going to be massaging the cylinder or the port walls, kind of opening up a little bit, not too much, because if you do too much you can interrupt you can mess up.
And how much to do? We don't know. It takes a lifetime to kind of figure that out.
It kind of does. So yeah, so we're going to be saving some money doing this ourselves. I'm not exactly sure how much money we'd be saving, but in this case, every little bit.
It's built, not bought, bro.
Yeah, every little bit helps. So I'm going to go get the Dremel, and I'm going to take this away from
my
the block.
clean table.
Yeah, and I'm going to be working on the porting. Why don't y'all come over into my dirty laboratory over here?
The dirty grinding room.
Yeah, Paul said to keep things very clean. Well, it's a little tough to keep head work clean, because when you're working on the head, you are just spraying aluminum and stuff everywhere. So this is what I've got right here. I've got the head in my vise, kind of elevated. I kind of made these little pieces right here holding the head, and I bolt this thing down. That way the gasket surface doesn't get damaged at all, because we don't want to blow any head gaskets on this. So what I'm doing is I've got this Dremel right here, and I'm going to be removing material on this head to help with flow with the intake and the exhaust. So on this side is the exhaust. I'm working on the intake on this side. I got my light going and stuff, and I'm going to be grinding that dark permanent marker out of this aluminum and making a nice ramp for the air to just kind of blow through. So let's get to grinding, and hopefully we're going to wind up with something really nice. Just saying. So you're trying to get rid of that black mark right there on this surface. All right, so now that the black line is mostly gone, I got to do a little bit more touch up. We're going to be working on how the flow goes. We're going to direct that air and fuel mixture nice and smoothly into the cylinder. So we're going to be working on a little bit of a ramp up in here to help with that transition, that 90-degree turn going into the cylinder. Well, it's not quite 90 degrees. It's not quite 45 degrees either. It's kind of in between. So we're going to work on this, do a lot of massaging. Now, you don't want to make this polished. We're porting it. This is the intake side. We're porting it. We're not polishing it, because you want that air to help get atomized. The way it gets atomized is going over kind of a rough surface. So we're gonna, I'm gonna work on like a, I don't know, kind of like a golf ball type surface, little dents. That's what I'm gonna work on. The exhaust is gonna get port matched and polished, and I'm gonna go for a mirror shine on the exhaust side.
So, everything in the rotating assembly, including the beautiful billet side cover has been degreased and cleaned, and yes, it's definitely worth doing, because look at the giant fleck I pulled out of where the drain plug goes in on that side cover. So yeah, it's totally worth doing, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just part of the machining process, and it's your job as the assembler, builder, to make sure everything is clean and deburred when things go together. So I'm going to do a test fit right now of the rotating assembly. So what makes this a 236cc engine is you have a 58mm crankshaft and a 72mm bore size. A 212 is, I have it in my notes, a 212cc engine is a 70mm bore and a 55mm stroke. So not only is this 2mm larger in bore size than a 212, it's also 3mm more in stroke. And that brings you up to a 236. Like we usually say, most of the horsepower is in the camshaft and cylinder head, but if you want to build an engine like on the cheap, a 72mm bore and a 58mm crankshaft is not terribly expensive compared to like what would come in a 212. So you could even do that and just go to town on a stock cylinder head if you wanted to. So some people like to use oil. Ike wants assembly lube, which is fine. It's kind of the builder's choice. So we're going to put assembly lube on everything where the rotating assembly is going to touch. And to be honest, usually Ike does this job. So this is kind of new to me. So if you're going to be criticizing in the comments, please make it constructive. That is a monster. Look how close it comes to the bore there. You can see it's been machined out right here to make clearance for that massive crankshaft. It's a big one. And this JB weld here is to help with vibration and dampening for the camshaft. And when you're turning one of these things to 10,000 RPM, you need all the help you can get to help with that vibration and extra stress on the little cast block we're going to be using. So when you're building like a big bore engine like this, I'd consider anything over 212 to be a big bore engine personally. You need to test fit the entire rotating assembly, because more often than not, your crankshaft is going to, or the connecting rod is going to run into the camshaft. So we're going to need to clearance the camshaft to make sure we don't have any clunk, because we have so much stroke and bore size with this thing that it just whacks the camshaft. So we have our beautiful rod here, our Go Power Sports rod. It's actually almost 2 years old. It's got the manufacturer date on it. It's pretty cool. This is probably just sitting around polish shop. It's built May 27th, 2022. Go Power Sports. So we have the brain card, the rod bearings, rod bearings. I should know. I have a BMW that eats these. You got the rod bearings. And now we need to install them. You see how you have a nice little tab here on the end? It's going to line up with a nice little tab on the connecting rod itself. So it only installs one way. We're just going to press these in. Just like that. And I think these little engines are so amazing in the way that they oil themselves. There is no oil pump. There's no oil filter. All it does is picks up oil as it rotates on the crankshaft, and that creates pressurized oil that spits it into the bottom of here, that lubricates the crank journal, and then I'm guessing it comes out up here and goes back into the crankcase. It's super interesting. It's amazing they work as well as they do, up to 10, 11, 12,000 RPMs. So, we're just assembling this rotating assembly. It's likely all going to have to come apart to clearance the crankshaft. But you're still going to put assembly lube. My goodness, that's a tight tolerance. Alright, we're just going to do the bearings instead. You're still going to want to put assembly lube on everything the first time around. So just a little dollop. We'll spread it around.
yeah, I put way too much on there. You really don't want this assembly lube to clog these little holes because, yeah, I don't know how much oil pressure actually hits it, but you don't want this thick stuff kind of gumming up where the engine oil should be. So I'm going to put it on a little thin. It might be totally wrong. This is really not the best, like, first engine for me to build. Who let me do this? Hey, Ike.
Yeah.
Help. Amount of assembly lube. I don't want to clog these little holes.
Yeah, you don't need a lot.
Is that enough right there?
Just take your finger and go. That's good.
Perfect amount of assembly lube right here.
Sweet. All right. It always helps me to orient the connecting rod, like how it's going to be rotating in the engine. It can get confusing. Nice thing, it has these two little dots on the rod to help you align it so you don't accidentally put the cap on backwards. So if the arrow points down, we are going to install this like so, and then we'll put the wrist pin in. Oh yeah, so satisfying. If you've never built an engine, like, this is one of those like moments where it's just very satisfying. It's just smooth as butter, super tight. Now, you can't forget your second spring clip here. So we're going to get this installed and then put the rod and piston onto the crankshaft.
All right, so you want to avoid nicking the side of the cylinder there. And it's not the end of the world. It's a big boy. All right. Yeah, it's a lot easier without rings on it, that's for sure.
Cool. So the first spot, as the piston is coming up, I mean, look how close that is. Look how close the connecting rod is to the crankcase. That's why they had to machine that out right there. Look how close it is. And this is only a 236. I mean, this is... The 236 is really the beginning of the truly, like, you have to do a lot of work to get this thing to fit because of this reason right here. Up top here again, the rod is about to touch the crankcase. It's a good thing that was machined out because that was not going to clear. Same with this, the bolt head here at the top of the crankcase. It's just wild. And then we keep rotating and the dipper is super close to the crankcase there too. I couldn't even fit this in between there if I wanted to. And then the bolt head again is really close to the crankcase. So it's incredible. Not only how tight it is, but this thing can run at 10,000 RPM and still not come into contact. So here is our camshaft. This is obviously a high performance racing cam. And the camshaft is what gives the engine its personality, kind of where it makes power in the power band and the RPM range, and its driving characteristics and stuff like that. So this camshaft is supposed to make peak power at 9,000 RPM. It's supposed to slowly kind of trickle down all the way out to 10.5 or even 11,000 RPM. So so peak is at 9, but it's going to be good usable power until about 11,000, which is absurd. So same with everything else. I'm going to degrease it, clean it up. We're going to get it fit. So this camshaft has what's called a compression release, and it has to have one in order to work in this class for the 660 drag race. It's a pull start class, and without a compression release, good luck pulling over your engine. The compression release is this mechanism right here. Basically, at low engine RPM, when you're pulling the engine over, this opens the exhaust valve just a little bit when the engine is coming up on the compression stroke. And then once the engine fires up, centrifugal force holds this out of the way and you get a good sealing exhaust valve. So we're gonna do some assembly lube here where the cam meets the crankcase. We're gonna put a generous amount on this gear. We're gonna skip the lobes for now because we don't have the valve train in because this is for test fitting. So this is where you want to line your dots up. You have a dot on the camshaft and a dot on the gear on the crankshaft, and this is for your cam timing. It's very, very important that you get these dots lined up. There you go. It's a lot of assembly lube. So now we can place our side cover on, rotate the engine, figure out where it's hitting. So it definitely feels like something is hitting right here. You can even hear it. But we can't be sure until we get the side cover on, because the side cover is going to locate both the camshaft and the end of the crankshaft here. So we can't be for sure what's hitting and where without the side cover on, and that's where it gets difficult. You got to put the side cover on to figure out where it's hitting, and then take it off, trim it, put it all back together, and do it again. So it's a time-consuming process, but it needs to be done right. Ah, so satisfying. Look at this unit. Having like a proud dad moment. It's funny, like, I've seen these guys build them a dozen times before. This is the first I've ever put one together, and you get a special sense of pride. So if you've watched your friend or your dad or your mom build an engine before, but you haven't, you need to build one so you can have the proud dad moment or proud mom moment. Is it gonna hit? It's not hitting. There it goes. Whack. If you have a stock side cover, you can modify it. You can cut holes in it so it still bolts up in a few places, so you can see where it's hitting without having to remove the side cover every time. We can't find ours. So I guess the bearings are staying behind. That's okay. They can do that. They're on their own path. Where are... Oh, yeah! Big whack. Right under here. You gotta sneak underneath the camshaft. You can see one of the lobes is whacking the
Oh!
yeah,
The crankshaft.
The crankshaft.
Oh, yeah, remember we had to do that to the other engine?
Yeah.
So we grind down the crankshaft.
Yeah, so we're going to be lightening up our rotating assembly.
Yep.
See where it's whacking now?
Oh, that camshaft and then the lobe of the other one.
Well, the cam lobe is whacking the, like, I guess the counterweight technically or something, or no, it's like right next to the journal on the crankshaft. So yeah, so we're gonna have to pull the entire thing back apart and take the crankshaft to the bench grinder. Oof. So now we're gonna be taking our crankshaft to the bench grinder. And we let this thing sit overnight. It's always a good idea to cover up your surface with a fresh paper towel at the bare minimum, just to prevent any dust that might be in the room from settling and then sitting on your engine that you spent so much time cleaning. So we're gonna pop this off. I've marked where the crankshaft needs to be ground down at. Marked it with a Sharpie. So it's gonna be right there. So I'm gonna take the crankshaft back out, wrap the journal in electrical tape, because you want to be darn sure you don't hit the journal with the bench grinder when you're grinding down the crankshaft. And then I'm going to be very gentle and probably test fit it a few times until it fits. So you can see where I've marked with the Sharpie where I need to grind, and you can actually see there's a good lip on there. So there is a decent amount of material we can take off, but of course we're going to take off as little as possible. Alright, so after we put all the assembly lube on our crankshaft, we then had to clean it all off and add this electrical tape to the journal. I was very thorough and thick with the tape because, again, if you nick this stone on your crank journal, you've earned yourself a nice trophy you're going to have to buy another crankshaft. Already degunked the crankshaft once. And I'll need to degunk the journal here to get the adhesive off. It's better to have an attitude towards like just being a perfectionist and just taking your time and being patient with yourself. If you have to kind of double or triple check something, it's okay. It's not a race until you get the thing running on the bike.
Hey man, I'm gonna get this head done before you get done with that block.
Probably so.
Ah!
Yeah. I was just saying it's not a race.
Oh,
That's really funny.
I thought this was a race.
It's only a race when you get the thing running on the bike.
Ah,
Looks to me like it clears by a mile now.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I see it.
And with the camera even?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So what you're looking for is that clearance right there. We also may need to do some clearancing for the compression release on the camshaft.
Okay.
So now that it looks good, we can actually put the side cover on and test it again, because again, these things are going to get located with the side cover. And you can't fully trust it clearing with the side cover off. What a cute little short block. A cute little short block.
Oh my God.
Proud dad moment, man.
You gonna burp it?
It's the only time I can put it against my clothes and not stain my clothes.
Oh no, that can happen too.
All right, let's listen and feel. And you need to be sure you do a full 720 degree rotation. I'm gonna rotate it a ton of times backwards and a ton of times forwards and just feel and listen.
Let's put an electric motor on it and turn it 10 grand.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
With no rings. Finger tight rod bolts. I think it's good, man.
How's the in play?
There is none, which is not what you want.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we should be able to address that later. Right?
Sure.
I mean, we need to get the rings in this thing.
Yeah, we got to get it all, and then we'll address the in play.
Yeah, so we'll pick back up here after we get the rings in and this in. So, Ike is all finished up with the cylinder head.
Yes, I am. Well, about as much as I'm going to do. I really want to do more than what I've done on the porting and polishing, but we've run out of time. Now, I guess I'll go ahead and talk about porting and polishing. So this right here is the intake on the head, and what I've done is I've removed a lot of material in there to try to get the straightest,
like a smooth ramp.
pretty much the smoothest flow of air and fuel going into the cylinder. And right here we have an oversized valve that Paul
It's a 32 millimeter intake valve. It's huge.
Paul installed the seat for us, and I finished up the porting on this intake. Now the exhaust, I believe that's a factory
25 mil.
factory valve, I think.
Yep.
And I removed a bit of material, and I've kind of polished it to a more
Smooth finish.
smoother finish. I wasn't done with it, but it's pretty good.
It's go or it's do or die time.
It's crunch time right now. So
Yeah. What did you think of the shred head though?
I like the shred head. These are very reasonably priced right now at like $65 at the moment.
Right.
And way cheaper than the billet heads that you can get. And this is going to be a good budget head.
And it's designed to be modified. I mean, it comes with more meat on the intake and exhaust ports.
Yes.
And it's capable of 7,500 RPM out of the box. But if you do kind of some upgrades like Paul and we did, this thing will be good for over 10,000 RPM.
We hope. I mean, it's us talking here,
So Ike is fighting for his life with the valve springs.
I'm telling you, dude.
It's alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to put some piston rings in. So you have, I guess it comes in a total of 5 pieces, but you have your oil ring goes at the bottom, and it's this little one. There's going to be a more detailed video out there to do it, but you have this one, followed by the waffle looking one, and then this other really, really thin one that's identical to the bottom oil ring. So it goes this one here, the waffle, this one. And the top and the bottom oil rings are identical.
Then you have these two. They're marked CYPR1 and CYPR2. One of them is chrome on the outside. It's really hard to tell on camera, but it's chrome around the outside. And the chrome one goes on the top. So that's the top ring, and the one that's not chrome is the middle ring, and the lettering faces up. So in this case, they could change it at any time, who knows, but CYPR1 goes on top with the lettering facing up, and that's the chrome ring. You want to be really careful installing these rings, right, Ike?
Yeah, because if you spread them too much, you can break them.
Right. The waffle one seems like the most...
The waffle one is the worst one. It'll go all deformed and I'm kidding.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Funny guy. All right, why is it?
Like, if you mess up the waffle one, you probably shouldn't.
You shouldn't be building an engine.
Yeah.
Just call Paul. That's funny.
Yeah.
So in this case, you add the waffle ring first, and then the top and the bottom of the oil ring. So, let's see, we're gonna get it started here. And you wanna make sure not to put too much tension on these rings, because you will absolutely break them. And then you're gonna have to get some overnight parts from Japan, if you know what I mean. There we go. So now installing the piston and rod into the cylinder can be a bit dicey after you have the rings installed. You want to make sure none of your ring gaps line up, because that can create an issue with like excessive blow by, and it can just cause problems. So you want to make sure that all your ring gaps are kind of dispersed, maybe 120 degrees each. So, arrow down. We can place this in here, and this is when you need a ring compressor. So you're just going to want to follow the instructions that come with your connecting rod. You're going to need a plastic gauge, a 1/4 inch 12-point socket, and most importantly, well, it's all very important, but you're going to need a torque wrench that's going to fit inside the engine when you tighten everything. So this one works really well for us. I'm going to link it in the video description. It's an Amazon affiliate link. So this is the final torque on this case, and this is 150 inch-pounds. And the bolts have been lubricated in Tillotson racing engine oil. Come on, where are you? There we go, click, click.
All right, so next thing I'm going to do on this is I'm going to install the seal and basically the gasket for this side cover. So let's start with this gasket here. It's a little like just rubber O-ring material, but it's all one length. You press it into the groove of this side cover. So we're gonna wipe off the side cover. And we're gonna install this. Now, being that this is a string of rubber, you want the seam to be up top on this cover, because you don't want the seam to be down low, because that's probably where your leak is gonna be. So I'm gonna start around the bottom here, and it's pretty simple. You just kind of press it down into the groove. It's just this easy. It's just kind of pressing in there. You use a little screwdriver to press it down. I'm using a pick because it's got a round handle. And you just work it. And that's it. It's all together. I'm gonna remember where that's at, and I'm gonna put a little swipe of silicone right there at that point. That way, if anything separates, it'll still be pretty sealed. So we're pretty much ready to install this. I do need to go ahead and install the cam and the flat tappets before I put this on. All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and wipe that little bit of silicone, this black silicone. I prefer the ultra gray, but we don't seem to have any ultra gray. We ran out. I'm just gonna do that little wipe that I said I was gonna do right there. And we're gonna install the flat tappets next. So we've got the block here. Everything's set up pretty good. We are going to add the, you can use motor oil. I still like assembly lube on everything, because you never know when the thing might get shelved, and it's better safe than sorry.
And hopefully not anytime soon.
Yeah.
But my thinking is like, this engine is going to sit for 6 months before we fire it up again.
Yeah, but I mean, once you run it and change oil, this stuff all is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, it's going to see dry starts.
Sure.
This just is one less dry start.
One less dry start.
All right.
You got to line up the dot with the dot on the camshaft. Oh, I'm one tooth off. Let's rotate it. And there we go. I don't know if y'all can see it, but we got a dot lined up with a dot right there. Let's wipe this off. And we are going to go ahead and put this side cover on, and then we're going to double check our crankshaft in play. I like going a little bit on the tight side. That's me. They give a range. Oh, look what I forgot.
Bearing?
No, I forgot to
Seal.
install the seal. So the seal is installed. Let's go ahead and install the side cover. Now this time it's not going to go together like it's been going together, because I have installed the dowel pins. The dowel pins help line everything up on the block and keep things together.
Yeah, and the billet side cover, I mean, it looks nice, but it adds a lot of rigidity to the engine case. Especially when you get turning them, 8, 9, 10,000 RPM, you really need that little extra bit of rigidity.
Right.
So we're going to tighten these to 190 inch-pounds.
Yep.
In like an X pattern. And we're going to recheck end play, and then the bottom end will pretty much be done.
So we have
a head stud kit from Go Power Sports.
Yes, sir.
A regular stage 2, you're probably not going to need a head stud kit. You're going to do the regular old head bolts. Just you get to that certain point with your investment and compression ratio and horsepower and RPM where you just kind of need it.
We need it.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about this is a budget build, but remember, it's budget for this level of competition or performance, if that makes sense. I mean, if it was truly budget, we'd be welding up a header, drilling out a carburetor jet, and having fun, but we're not going to get anywhere close to this amount of performance out of something like that.
Just like the good old days, right?
That's right.
Just finger tight, we're good.
And you know what? We're going to link all these parts in the video description. They're from Go Power Sports, so if you want to try to replicate it, or at least get a good idea of where to go with your build, you'll be able to, because there are so many moving parts for this thing. We're just going to have a complete list in the video description.
Yep.
See ya.
So let's just get on to this, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I love your enthusiasm saying that this is like the final touches. It's not quite there, but we are in the short rows, they might call it. So we're going to be installing our push rod tubes along with our beautiful Black Venom
1.3 ratio
1.3
rockers.
ratio rockers.
And this is all stuff like
like your rockers and the what your push rods are made out of and how long they are and how like the shank size on them is all to be determined by a professional like Taylor, Go Power Sports, Paul, PC Motorworks, someone who knows what they're talking about.
Not us.
Dude, do you know how long the push rods had to be?
Well, you don't know until you go to set it up.
That's true. That's true.
It all depends on how thick your head gasket is, how much.
Camshaft lift you have?
No, not
No?
really. It depends on how much you've cut off the head. It determines how much you've decked the block. It's the position of the rockers, the pivot point, to the, what it is depending on where this is positioned. If it's too low, your push rods, if it's doing that, your push rods are too short. If it's doing that, your push rods are too long. You want it like right there in the middle. If you know what hopefully I'm explaining that good enough for y'all, but the push rod length is going to affect the angle of this rocker arm.
And you want to get it right.
And you want to get it right.
Simple as that.
Yeah. So let's add a little bit of something there and something there, because we're going to be putting on our little buttons here on the end of our valve stems. And then we're going to be installing our rockers. And I'm adding just 2 washers. Oh yeah. Look what we forgot. Make sure that you get the end of the push rod tubes in the bowl of the adjuster screw. So this is it. It's looking good. We got plenty of room. We don't recommend doing this for your first engine build because this is just a little bit more advanced, but
it takes that special touch and knowledge of, hey, that feels a little tighter than it maybe should be. And that's exactly the case with this. It's the case with the camshaft hitting. So if it's your first engine build, go Power Sports, get the Stage 2 Racer, or just call Paul if you want something this crazy.
Or if you really want to learn, go for it.
That's true too. More power to you.
Don't drop the flashlight in there, we might lose it.
Holy moly. Yeah, you could you could lose a small dog in that combustion chamber as much as that valve opens.
Yeah, that thing is open.
It's impressive.
Not bad. Alright, so I guess we need to go ahead and just set our valve lash.
Yep.
So we need to lap in our flywheel. Right here on the directions, the flywheel should be lapped with valve lapping compound. And what we've got here is probably some vintage Clover compound, valve lapping compound that I've got a huge supply of. And I do.
You just collect your earwax or something?
No, it's my buddy's parts store, and he's just got cases of it. So we're going to be adding the valve lapping compound, and we are going to lap this thing in. Lapping it in is going to increase the
bite.
Pretty much the bite. You wear in the parts to where everything fits tight.
It's so funny, we spent all this time making everything clean, and then all of a sudden we're purposefully
throwing some dirt,
adding grit.
Grease.
Yeah, literally dirt and grease. This particular carburetor intake adapter hose has nice ridges in it, so it's made just for carburetors like this. No longer are we using just silicone hose. This is really nice, so it fits on really, really nice when you have 2 hands. So here's me, and here's the carburetor she told me not to worry about. This is the carburetor. This is a 34 mil flat slide that's going to be going on the Rascal GT, the big engine that we're going to be doing. This is just a little baby budget small block. If you thought this was a lot, stay tuned for the other engine we're going to be doing for the Rascal GT. This thing is really coming together. We've added our crankcase vent hoses. It's important you need to go with 3/8 fittings and 3/8 hose. For an engine this big that's going to turn this many RPM, you need this thing to breathe. We're going to hook it up to a catch can system once it gets installed on the bike. Filling it up with Tillotson 4-stroke engine oil, just for the break-in procedure, which we'll talk about later. But it's almost time to work on the bike again so we can get this engine installed. And we're putting 16 ounces of oil in this thing. It's gonna push out whatever it doesn't want. And it's gonna get oil changes frequently enough. It's not gonna matter if it's a little too much.
Yep.
So our Monster 236 pull start engine is ready to get installed on the bike. However, the bike is not ready for it.
Right.
So here's our front end like we built. It has adjustable height. We extended the wheelbase up front just a little bit with that junior dragster tire and the new tabs we installed there. And on the rear, we're going to be installing a live axle kit behind the chassis.
Yeah.
Right about there.
We're going to stretch it probably about, I don't know, 3 to 4 inches. Every little bit helps. I kind of wanted to keep the dirt bug, doodlebug look.
Exactly.
So
it's just going to be a little bit of cleaning the metal, getting this thing squared up, and tacking it in.
Yep.
So Ike is setting the ride height, which is very, very important. And I'm going to assemble the axle.
just a rough estimate of where this is gonna hang out at. Go over.
Yep.
That one ought to be good enough to sit on. Cover.
I like it. I think we have a roller, buddy.
I think we do too. I'm a little afraid of how small this thing is.
Yeah.
How I'm gonna be able to handle it.
Yeah, especially at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Look how tall you are compared to the bike.
Look how short it is.
I like how low it is, man.
Man, you might have to move that gas tank.
And move the seat back.
So allow my butt to go back a little bit.
That's a good idea.
I mean, you know, with this engine, it's probably best to be as far forward as we can, but I just can't seem to.
Yeah, it's too small.
And with me moving this far back, definitely gonna need some wheelie bars on this thing
All right.
to keep her down.
You're gonna be. All right.
This is pretty much it.
I'm gonna see how much better I fit on it.
All right.
I bet I'm gonna fit pretty well. Probably wouldn't need a wheelie bar.
Yeah, I think a wheelie bar is in order on this thing.
Yeah, for you, since your weight is so far back.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride, man. I mean, these bikes are exhilarating at 40 miles an hour.
Yeah,
You're gonna be going twice that.
at least.
I love how the fenders even like got a crease where it's smashed in.
Yeah.
before.
That's why I want to leave it.
Awesome. Oh, yep, no kickstand.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with the kickstand.
That's all right.
Yeah. All right.
So we got a roller. Now it's a matter of making our 236 fit. So in order to get the engine mated up to this dirt bug here, we need to do a few things. We need to re-drill our engine mounts. We need to reinforce the engine plate. We need to relocate this bracket. We need to figure out where the brake is going to mount, how the sprocket and chain is going to go, and get a clutch on it. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
So go ahead, man, get to cutting.
Just gonna go ahead and cut it.
Yep.
I'm using this as a straight edge. I'll lay this where the sprocket and chain, everything's gonna line up.
So
Once this is bolted into place, I'll be able to know pretty much it's straight without having to
mess with it too much. Yeah, that's something we've always struggled with, is just eyeballing your clutch and your sprocket alignment. Well, John had a good idea, and that's just if you can grab a piece of round stock that you know is flat, you can lay it on the sprocket hub, and it'll provide a straight shot straight to your clutch. So you can have the in and out of your engine alignments figured out. You just have to take into account the thickness of your sprocket, then make sure the engine doesn't need to rotate as well.
There we go. Fire in the hole. There we go. There we go. Probably have to run a clamp up under it to pull it all the way down, but that right there. Yep. Okay. So there's a little bit of a gap here, and I think I'm going to try and get my certified gap welder badge.
Today's your final exam.
It is?
Your pop final exam.
Fair enough. Cover. Give you the old tacky tack.
So, most of the welding to the engine plate is done, but we're at the point where we are ready to install this engine and hear it fire up and get it broken in. So the engine plate is looking really nice. We have it reinforced. We still need to weld here. We don't want to potentially tear the engine plate there, and maybe some other reinforcements and welding, but again, it's going to be plenty for just what we're doing this evening. So we need to get a header on it. We need some bolts. We're going to skip the chain right now, and we're just going to get it fired up kind of as it is.
So Zach is our stand-in Ike because he's not here today, and we're trying to figure out the header, among other things. And we can't remember how Ike was going to sit on this thing, if at all, to get in a good aerodynamic position. The pegs there isn't half bad, except that's right where the air filter needs to go.
So I don't know, boys.
Right up against that exhaust.
Yeah, exactly. Calf's going to be right there on the header.
And we have to build a real nice cover.
Yeah, it's got to be a good clutch guard.
That's going to be a cheese grater for your kneecap.
Exactly. So, like, because your knee is going to be resting up against that, basically.
All right.
You could just Superman it.
Just Superman it. Now we're talking.
Aerodynamic.
Yeah. All right, so we finally got our header installed. We had to modify it and go with a street sweeper design. It's looking good. We still have a lot of finishing touches. We still need to mount the brake, run the chain, and some other stuff, but we just want to fire up this engine to get it good and broken in, and plus Colin's going to be racing with us, and he needs to know, he doesn't have much experience with methanol, so we're going to go through kind of all the steps required in running methanol.
Yeah, as far as me having experience with methanol, about all the experience that I have is knowing it smells good.
That's right.
That's it.
So first thing to do if you have a brand new engine build, especially something high end, is you want to make sure that the back of the bike is elevated. We don't have a chain on it, so it doesn't matter, but we're just being extra safe. And make sure when you install your throttle cable that you have, that the throttle returns correctly and it's at idle.
So, yep, we have wide open, we have idle, so we know it shouldn't hang up.
So go ahead and pump our Sunoco methanol in, bud.
Yep.
And we have oil in the engine, and basically all we're looking to do is start the engine and idle it for about 3 minutes,
and then we can shut it off and let it cool down as per the break-in instructions. Maybe we can do 3 to 5 minutes because it's not going to get as hot as fast as gasoline.
I mean, you're not wrong. Methanol is a great fuel if you're drag racing and you want close to as much power as you can get out of your engine. It's good for high compression applications or very aggressive timing engine applications. If you put it in a street car, it's really not going to make any more power, and you're never going to want to street drive something with methanol because this fuel pulls in water, basically. So that's why you need to change the oil so frequently on these methanol engines, is because after you run it for 20 minutes, your oil is going to be half oil and half water. So it's important to get it changed out frequently. Also, protective equipment. Ears, eyes, it burns. Don't touch it. Let's fire it up. Ready? Yep. Spicy.
Hear how fast.
Yeah, how fast it's spun up? You should see the flywheel. It's like half the thickness of a regular billet flywheel. It's tiny.
This thing is going to be...
A beast. This is the small motor, sir.
Yeah, this is the tiny one. This isn't the one I'm riding.
No.
Don't pray for me, please. I'm going to need all I can get. You want to try it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wowza. Just sitting here idling, it used about a quarter tank of fuel.
No way.
Yeah. Just idling for 3 minutes.
I mean, granted, you got your fuel in a Pepsi can, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not a very big...
Right. So, I mean, yeah, the bike is still like half done, but the engine runs. So, what we're supposed to do per the braking instructions are... Oh, yeah, it got some heat in it, though.
Oh, yeah.
So we're supposed to let it get back down to kind of regular temperature. We're going to change the oil because it's a methanol engine. We're going to let it get back down to room temperature. We're going to run it again at medium engine speed. Sounds nasty. Honestly, changing the oil after 3 minutes might be overkill, but got to treat this thing nice. Yeah, got a bunch of sparkles in it. Just like every clone's first oil change. Everything's just kind of breaking in. So we're gonna get all the oil out. Boy, I'm spilling a lot. So we're gonna let all the oil drain out. We're gonna get some fresh stuff in there. When it cools down, fire it back up. All right, so the engine's nice and cool. We have oil back in it. We're gonna crank it up and run it now for about 10 minutes and drain the oil and get the bike ready for storage, which with methanol is a little bit of a process. Ready.
All right.
All right. Yeah, we need that catch can installed bad.
Yeah,
But you know what?
in my mouth.
Our engine is technically broken in, so we'll do that oil change and then we'll get this thing ready for storage so we can finish it up, well, day after tomorrow, so we can load it up and hit the road. So we're now going to put our methanol engine into storage. Even if it's just overnight, it's a good idea to do this. You need to take all the methanol out of the fuel tank, drain your oil like we just did, put fresh oil in it,
You're going to want to take the spark plug out and put WD-40 down into the cylinder. You're going to want to remove the carburetor bowl and get all the methanol out of the carburetor, and also do the WD-40 method with that. Again, because if this methanol sits on any metal surface, it's going to attract water and it's going to prematurely rust and gunk up your parts. So that's the downsides to running methanol. It's very, I guess, maintenance intensive. You have to really take care of it. But when you're looking for max performance, you got to do it. Pouring all the methanol out. We could probably save it if we wanted to, but we have plenty and these don't use that much. So I'm just going to leave the bowl off of this tonight to kind of help let it air out. And we need to drain this methanol. We'll put this back into our tank. So the spark plug is ready to come out. I already pre-loosened it. Put that on top there. Just going to shoot some WD-40 down into the combustion chamber. Maybe I should have let that cool off a little
Maybe
more.
a little.
It's making a little steam. We're gonna give it a few minutes. Yikes. I've never seen WD-40 smoke like that. Well, I have, because I've used it with this cutting fluid. That's funny. It's cooled off. I added a little more WD-40. Just spin it over, letting it get good and lubricated. And then the other thing you want to do is, an engine with this much valve spring pressure, you want to park it, or at least rotate the engine so that it's sitting at top dead center on the compression stroke, right? Yes. So that you have no tension on the springs or on the camshaft when it's sitting. So we're on day 5 of our 2-day drag bike build on our budget doodlebug, but yet still competitive 236 bike here. We're in the home stretch. This thing is inching towards the finish line of being complete. The axle is completely in it. It's kind of a pain getting Loctite in here to tighten these split collars there, but you got to do it. The brake is installed. Looks great. Chain's going in, chain tensioner's going in, and we have a header brace here as well. So while Zach continues to fumble with the master link, I'm going to share a little bit of helpful information if you're installing a header brace on your bike. So anytime you do a header brace, we like to do it off the engine somewhere. So we've mounted it right here to where one of the shrouds used to go for the fan. It's important you do that versus off the chassis, because you have engine vibration and you have chassis vibration, and they are not often similar. So you'll end up breaking the header here or at the mount because the chassis is vibrating differently than the engine is. Also, if you need to tension your engine, you won't be able to do that if you have a chassis mounted exhaust brace, right?
Delicately put, sir.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Very nice.
I'm trying. Cool. So we're gonna get this front end on and maybe fire this bike up with Ike on it and do a couple test hits. Gotta get used to it somehow, buddy.
Yeah. So now that we're getting closer to being done with this bike, let's talk about some of the safety requirements. Functioning brake, a kill switch, and clutch guard is required. So we got to figure out the clutch guard on this thing coming up soon. We're coming up to what we're going to be working on next. We're going to be installing a catch can. So all vents must terminate to a catch can. So the crankcase vent needs to go to a catch can. And I'm assuming, I've never seen it done before, but maybe the fuel tank, it wouldn't hurt to have it go to a catch can. The proper safety gear is mandatory. Full face helmet, jacket, hoodie, full length pants, gloves, and boots covering the ankle. So that's what we got going on. Let's go ahead and install this catch can, and we'll see about hooking up our vents to it next. Okay, so we ran into a little bit of an issue right before we did the before we're doing the catch can. We found out that there's a lot of frame flex. When you squeeze the chain, you see a lot of movement with the frame. Now, it's a lot better than what it was because we added a couple of these braces, but it's still kind of bad. But I'm gonna risk it, I suppose. I've had vehicles that had frame flex and they did just fine. So I'm hoping that it's going to be just fine. So we need to go ahead and locate where we're going to be putting our catch can at this point. So where is the catch can? There it is. All right, so we're going to be installing this catch can right about there. And it's going to have to poke out a little bit because of our new frame pieces that we stuck in there. So, yeah. Yeah, okay. It actually needs to go a little bit above. So this is what we got. I'm going to go ahead and put these bolts in, and I'm going to set it in place, and we are going to tack this in place, and this is going to be our catch can. And I have to replace the fuel line. You see that?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
he got to it.
Kind of melted the fuel line.
All right, good morning. It's I think day 6 of the build, day 6 of the 2-day build, and
And you know what, man? You've done a good job reinforcing this chassis. I gotta say, the doodlebug was not built for 30 horsepower.
Man, still might not be.
Yeah, it still might not be. You successfully burned a hole in the fuel line that already had methanol in it.
It does not have a hole in it.
Oh.
Check it out.
All right. I mean,
Still good.
Let's use it. Why'd you replace it? So we're getting a set of grips on this thing, and it's raining outside, but you know what? We're still going to get a couple test whacks in.
Absolutely.
Because why not?
So one of the last things we have to do is to install this catch can. We've already welded a nice bracket on here. And we try to keep it as high as we can make it, just so it doesn't like fill up really, really quickly. Now, a catch can is a requirement for the Go Power Sports 660, and it's really just a good idea to have a catch can on any of your modified mini bikes, just because you don't want your oil venting onto the tire or onto the ground. It's not good for the environment, and it's definitely a safety hazard. So, a catch can may not make you faster, but it's definitely one of those items that you need just for safety's sake.
All right, Scott's joining us today, helping us get this thing ready to go. Gonna be here for the final test.
I'm here to do the things that you guys don't want to.
These are the things we've been doing, sir. Excuse me. Well, this is just what happens when you build the bike the week of the race, is you get it all together and then you remember, oh, hey, our axle carriers are only half welded, so we have to take the entire axle back out of the bike to get it welded.
Hurry up, Scott. We're going to lose the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh.
We could probably slide this over.
Well, I mean, we can, but you know what we're going to do for testing purposes.
Look, all we got to do is slide that off.
Oh, big brain.
And
Here, I was going to say, let's just cut the end of the bolt off.
That'll be all right.
There we go.
Let's overcomplicate this.
So we have a secondary chain tensioner, and it's called the fender mount. It'll be fine. It's just gonna like reduce the weight of the chassis as it drives.
30.
You still have to port match that sucker, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm taking it off. Hey, man.
The last 5% takes 80% of the work, doesn't it?
Yeah, when you gotta take everything apart just to get a little bit more weld in there, put it all back together again.
Exactly.
And then we're gonna test it and figure out what else we need to do.
Bingo.
I don't know why we didn't.
And Ike's leaving tomorrow.
If we don't acknowledge it now, then you know we're gonna have to later.
Yeah. Or we can just ignore it and hope Ike reaches the end of the track in one piece.
Man.
Right? Nice BMW pliers, man.
Oh my God, they are. No.
Dude, I'm telling you.
They are.
Yeah.
And catch can is done. I hate these pliers.
Hey.
They're terrible.
Hey.
Dude, they're terrible. Are you having problems with them? Nope.
My man.
Nice.
Got it. So it's going 70?
75.
75?
What, 75 miles per hour?
Yeah.
Is that what you got it set to?
No, that's what we think it's gonna like trap at. It'll be fine.
75 miles per hour?
Yeah. No?
I was wanting to go 100.
How's it going, buddy?
Hey, buddy. So what we're doing here is I am actually port matching the exhaust header to the head. It's not a lot that needs to be done. I've done most of the hard work. I'm just basically smoothing it out right now. Now it's very important to have the intake and the exhaust like port matched because you don't want anything in the way interfering with the air fuel flow and the exhaust flow out of the engine, because the engine's like an air pump. The faster you get air in and out, the more efficient it is. Does that sound smart enough?
That sounded scientific level right there.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, pretty good, man.
Oh yes. Every little bit helps. All right, so I went ahead and I port matched the gasket to match the head, and that's how I knew how to match the exhaust header because using the gasket. Pretty easy. This is going to be so awesome. Is it nuts on the outside or?
So that one was the bolt came in, while on this side the bolts came out.
It's for weight distribution.
It doesn't look like it's gonna want to fit. Well, no, it'll fit.
What in the rural North Carolina is going on here?
Don't worry about it.
Just doing a little chain clearancing, no big deal.
Do we have a larger?
Yeah,
We do.
probably.
Where's that?
Like a larger axe, definitely.
Well, anything with some weight.
Something is happening.
Oh yeah,
We're just flaking the rust away, it's all.
yeah. Dude, it's not hitting anymore.
Sweet. Something still sounds kind of chunky.
What?
Nothing.
All right. Get it off the table and give it a try.
Dude, I gotta say, this little dirt bug has come a long way in just a few days.
Not too bad.
Pretty much every aspect of the bike has been modified. But, you know, the cool thing is, yes, we spent a lot of time and a lot of money on this bike, but now it's ready to compete.
Yeah.
Like, try building a drag car to compete. It kind of any class is going to be many times more than this.
Honestly, if I had to do it over again, I probably would buy that frame over there.
Yeah, well, now we have to build that in approximately a day.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, so we're going to get this on the ground. We're going to test it and, get it loaded up. But I just want to say this thing has made a heck of a transformation. It looks really, really cool. It really does have that doodlebug on steroids look that we were going for. It's going to be real entertaining at 75 miles an hour. That's why you got the steering stabilizer.
All right, let's put some fuel in this thing and fire it up.
All right.
Think 4 pulls.
I think 4 pulls.
Hey, where's the kill switch?
Oh.
We should probably put the kill switch on
That's
it.
a great idea. Why did it do that?
I don't know.
Probably all the WD-40 I poured into the cylinder.
Why did you just hold it at 10 grand for no reason?
Hold it at 10 grand.
You doing a burnout?
Be alright. The kickback, man.
Yeah, it's gnarly. Do you need some help?
No.
Looks like you need some help.
No.
He blowed it up.
I hope not.
All right, I'll crack the throttle.
I'll choke it. Dude, this thing's been hard to pull this whole time. Like the compression release is not
Releasing.
releasing. I think we ought to look into it. So, we found out what happened. We lost a push rod. Now, why did that happen? Well, it's because someone didn't tighten up the adjuster screw on the rocker. Hopefully nothing was damaged. Hopefully everything's gonna be all right. That's why, remember how I said it felt like the
Compression release wasn't working.
release wasn't working?
Right.
It's because it wasn't, because it was out of adjustment.
Oops.
It's all good. Hopefully everything will be okay.
The nice thing is, so many people have worked on this bike.
You did it!
No, you did it.
Colin did it! Alright.
So it helps when your rockers are tightened down.
Yeah. Let's hope everything's alright. Ready? Here we go.
Whenever you're ready. All right, man. Well, let's get the oil drained. That passes the test.
This thing is just...
It's gonna be rowdy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rowdy.
I kind of feel like we might have the gearing a little bit too low.
All right. Well, that's what the testing tune is for.
So we are going to have a testing tune.
Yes.
Okay. We really need to get a tachometer so I can, like... We're going to have to mount it on the front fender.
Oh, there you go.
My head is past the handlebars. I can look at the fender.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Maybe some different handlebars.
I like it.
All right.
Fellas, I gotta say, we did a heck of a job. Scott, thanks for coming down.
Thanks, man.
Worked on a wheelie bar this morning, and yeah, these are off of a push mower, but it's extremely on brand, as they say.
Yeah, I couldn't find the skateboard wheels.
No, I mean, we truly transformed this doodlebug.
What? What we tried?
We bolted a lot of really, really, really nice parts onto it. So hopefully we're gonna have a competitive bike down at the 660 this weekend.
As long as we're not the slowest, I'm gonna be happy.
That's right. We're going to link all the parts we used in the description of today's episode. We can thank our sponsor, GoPowersports.com, for hooking us up with all of the upgrade parts. And visit our website, CarsandCameras.com. Pick up our Ultimate Sticker Pack 2.0 that we're throwing on this bike here. It's a great way to support the channel. And the cherry on top, It's only bad if you look at it. Very appropriate for this build. And you know what? Is it a budget build? Not really. But it's about as budget as you can go if you want to be competitive in a 236 racing class for mini bikes. It's still going to be a 75-mile-an-hour mini bike in the 8th mile. It's going to be fast. So thank you all again for tuning into this build. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the long-form mini bike content. We'll catch you next time. Wish us luck down at the Go Power Sports 660. Can't do it.
This is the stupidest Masterling.
Yes. Masterlings have a sense about them. They know you're in a hurry, and they slow right on down.